Welcome to the channel. Today's story has big surprises and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's get started. I'm sure married life shouldn't be so difficult, but marriage to Rachel was more challenging than I could have imagined. The grumbling and complaining just seemed endless. Everything I did was wrong. Before we started dating, I had many hobbies, mainly active recreation and sports, as well as cycling and playing soccer. Over the years, this all faded away with Rachel saying that we couldn't afford it, that we didn't have time, or that she had planned something else for the same day. I lost contact with more and more friends and did not participate in trips and events. I was so infatuated with Rachel that it took me years to realize what was happening, and it was only when I looked back after a few beers that I realized how much I had missed. Why marry someone if they are so perfect, and then try to change them? Even my friends and family became problems, not educated enough, drinking too much, or being too loud and rude to Rachel's sensibilities. She seemed to take pride in her ability to control our lives and everything that happened in it. There's no end to it. Earn more, work even more, make lists of tasks. All this has become a habit for her. When we first started dating, she was caring, attentive, and quite flexible. There were a few hints of self-demand, but nothing alarming, and I was fascinated by it. Rachel Carter was a stunning woman from a wealthy family. I am Michael Harris. Of course, not stunning and not that rich, but relative to myself, I have achieved good results, a decent job, and a steady income. Many friends and hobbies. Life was good. And then I met Hannah, and everything got even better. Tall, with long straight blonde hair, pale skin, and a graceful appearance, Hannah commanded attention. Her blue eyes seemed as alive as her personality, always darting around, but with an intense gaze. She is smart, determined, and well aware that she influences most males, but she knows how to deflect unwanted attention. No one was as shocked as I was when she asked me out. I just couldn't understand it. She was clearly out of my league, and I told her so. I'm sick of all these rich, arrogant jerks messing with me. You look different, maybe kinder, and I see that you often smile and joke with your friends. I like it. Next time, you'll tell me that I'm a nice guy, and that's not the best reason for a date. She laughed, and she had me in her arms with that smile and eye contact. There was no way I could resist her, and she knew it. I literally lost my breath. I had to concentrate on breathing, and it felt like my heart was about to jump out of my chest. Despite my doubts and the fact that it was very early, I began to think that everything could work out. Hannah was truly pleasant company and also very attractive. She worked a lot on her appearance, dressed in designer clothes, used the services of a personal trainer, visited spas, and underwent beauty treatments. In general, she spared no expense, and it worked. She continued to look even better in adulthood. Our engagement was going smoothly until an incident happened with an old family friend and her ex, Daniel. I caught Hannah meeting him for drinks. They seemed to be quite close friends, and he held her hand over the table. I was about to leave, but then I thought, screw it, and walked over, sitting down on the chair next to them. Well, that's nice, I said. Hannah's eyes widened, and she removed her hands from the table. It's not what you're thinking. I was explaining to Daniel that we are now engaged, and I couldn't date him again. In fact, then the only thing that confused me was that you were holding hands and those loving eyes. Maybe it's just the wrong time, and you didn't have a chance to leave me first. No, I swear now. Daniel is just a friend. I needed to explain everything personally, to do everything right. I love you and want to marry you, Hannah said, looking at me. I looked at Daniel. What can you say in your defense? He seemed in no hurry to answer, the self-confident man that he was. Hannah is absolutely right. I asked her out without knowing she was engaged, and I'm glad she thinks highly enough of me to explain everything in person. I don't want to come between you, he said. The words made sense, but I didn't like something about him. He continued, I think I'd better leave you two to sort out your differences. Honestly, I wish you both the best. Hannah looked at me. Sorry, I should have told you that I was dating him. Are you telling me the truth, Hannah? If it's not you, then it's better to sort things out now. You are all I need. Please, you don't have to worry about anything. I'm all yours. Hannah seemed determined to make amends in the bedroom, and I wasn't going to complain, even embellishing my experience a little because I liked the way she was making amends. There was a week left before the wedding, and I was already starting to get tired of the fact that I really was lucky. Only my mom seemed to think I was a good deal for Hannah too. It wasn't the marks themselves that bothered me so much. It was the fact that Hannah seemed delighted by them. I was hoping to get at least some kind of protection or support, maybe a hint that she was lucky too, or that I was a great guy, but it didn't come. Our conversations became more and more one-sided, and more attention was paid to her. At first, I chalked it up to wedding stress. However, much of this was stressful for me too. My initial proposal for a small celebration with close friends was rejected out of hand. The wedding went beyond our original plans and budget, but she had to have the perfect dress, the perfect venue, and the cake and the ring. Her second cousins had to be added to the guest list, which at that point numbered nearly 250 people. I seemed to get lost in the shuffle. I was often instructed, but usually ignored. I wondered if it would be noticeable if I just didn't show up. And I thought again about why she was marrying me despite all my fears. I still came, and the wedding went just fine, right down to the speeches. Her father's speech was more like a lecture addressed to me about how I should support my princess in the way she was used to. Her mother smiled at the same time, but I didn't. I really didn't expect the welcome to the family speech. Hannah noticed the look on my face and stood next to me. I would like to drink to the fact that our two wonderful families will be united by the love that Michael and I share, she said. She gave her father a scathing look as she sat back down. At least I wasn't the only one who felt disapproval. The rest of the day passed without incident. After a whirlwind honeymoon, we settled into married life, and 18 months later, our first and, as it turned out, only daughter, Sophia, was born. She was an absolute miracle to me. Hannah struggled with postpartum depression and was determined that she would never go through the trauma of childbirth again. As a result, she declared that Sophia would be our only child. Hannah knew that I always wanted to have more children, but I decided not to have the conversation because she wasn't handling motherhood very well. I did everything I could, taking on most of the worries. When Sophia turned 7, Hannah wanted to go back to work. Her father was well-connected and got her a job raising funds for a charity. It was only later that I learned that the chief executive of this charity was Brian Keller. She had been working there for over a year when I was invited, along with other partners and families, to a summer social event. This year, it had a medieval theme with games and fundraising events for the charity. Most were dressed in fancy dress, the most popular being knights and ladies of the manor. To Hannah's disappointment, I avoided participating in this event. She bought a lady of the manor outfit with an embroidered tunic, velvet headdress, bowler hat, and silk veil. There were all sorts of games, mock hand-to-hand combat with fake weapons and electronic sensors, knocking each other off logs over the water, and archery competitions. Mark won the mock fencing tournament. Only 4 people could ride well enough to compete. They used foam spears, which were nonetheless quite heavy, and managed to land several hits on the electronic shield sensors. They even managed to get one guy off his horse, although it looked like he would have fallen anyway. To be honest, it was all funny and fun. Then, in front of everyone, Mark approached Hannah and asked her for a small souvenir. She took off her veil and tied it to his spear, receiving applause. After that, flirting began before my eyes. I was unhappy that Hannah was spending so much time with her boss, so I told her off. "What the hell are you up to?" I asked. She laughed. "I don't know. The young knight won my favor." "This is not funny, Hannah," I replied. "Come on, Michael. Aren't you going to fight for your damsel in distress? Save her from a young scoundrel with a bad reputation. I shouldn't have to do this. You don't look upset at all. On the contrary, you like it. We are married, and I thought we were committed to each other. Calm down. It's just a joke. Is it true? You two turn on each other, and it makes me wonder what else you might be doing at work." With those words, I left. If I hoped that she would follow me, I was sorely mistaken. I left the hall without the slightest idea of where to go. When I found a pub, I spotted one called the Copper Fox and thought it would do just fine. I sat at the bar still angry, drinking my first pint. By the second, I thought my reaction might have been a little over the top, but that was because it was him, Brian Keller, always staying in the background. I tried to think about what I should say to Hannah when I got home, but as it turned out, I didn't need to worry. Hannah wasn't there. It's scary to think where she could be, but all my texts remained unanswered. She returned after midnight, but did not speak to me. I was determined not to ask where she was. The next day, we just murmured something in greeting to each other at lunch. That evening, Hannah announced that we needed to talk, and I laughed. "Why are you laughing?" she asked. "Yes, it's simple," I replied. Hannah, you ignored my words and continued. No one, including you, has the right to control me. I admit that since we started working together, I've become closer to Mark again. I don't know what I expected, but certainly not this. Did you spend the night with him? Don't be so rude, she said. We have a history together. He was always partial to me. So, have you already been into? I asked, trying to hold back my frustration. Stop saying that, she replied. I have to be honest and say that the attraction is mutual. Have you already been intimate with him? I asked again. You're such a child, she said, shaking her head. I looked at her silently, incredulously. You left me at a charity event, and he was next to me when you weren't there. Oh my God, you've got to be kidding. If you hadn't run away, this would never have happened. I doubt it, Michael. I think spreading his legs was inevitable for him. One quarrel, and you jump into his bed. And you have the audacity to accuse me of being at fault for this. You became a traitor. I am not a traitor. Then what's the matter? Is it love? Are you leaving me for him? No, of course not. I love you. What then? Is it a one-time mistake? You feel guilty? This doesn't mean anything. You only love me. It's just one night. What kind of excuse are you making up? There's no need to act like that. It was a mistake. We quarreled, and I was upset. Forgive me, okay? No, it's not okay. And you managed to quite successfully get into this situation in order to justify yourself. Why tell me about this now? I wanted to be honest and see if we couldn't work things out. I think it's more like you wanted to throw it in my face. All right, you're right about the fact that everything needs to be sorted out first, by getting a divorce. You cannot divorce me. You have no evidence of infidelity. No videos, no tapes, no photographs. What makes you think that I need them? In this country, when people don't want to be married, they can just get a divorce. This can even be done via the internet without lawyers. There is no need to prove who had intimate relations with whom. There's no difference. I don't even know if there are investigators here. On the other hand, we also don't have alienation of affection lawsuits in this country, which is also a good thing. Otherwise, your precious charity could go under. And then what will the poor animals do? Hannah didn't take kindly to my suggestion of divorce. We won't get a divorce because of this episode. Don't even think about it. If you want to see Sophia again, our family has more than enough money to trick you. I looked at the consequences of the divorce. It was a nightmare. Even if I won joint custody, I would be left with absolutely no money and would live in a box, hopefully with real walls. How wrong I was about lawyers. Before I knew it, her father's firm had already sent us for a consultation. What is it nowadays? People can't make a decision without the help of either a consultant or a lawyer or both. Forget about thinking for yourself. And one more thing, why should I move out? Because it was you who had an affair. It wasn't a romance, and I need time to find myself and understand what I want. Find yourself, really? I thought the problem was that Mark caught you with your legs spread. This won't help. Dr. Mitchell allowed a slight frown to appear on her usually stoic face as Hannah intervened during a pause in the conversation. That's not the point. I want you, but I don't know if you can survive it. I'm not content with having to apologize for the next 40 years. Did you apologize? I asked. I mean, I've heard the word sorry, but not once have you said it convincingly. Oh, grow up, she snapped. I apologize, and we have to move on. For me, there was no remorse or recognition of the consequences. You can't see beyond yourself. If you have any regrets, it's only about yourself, about not living up to your own standards. About me being a cheater. You don't worry about me, except by dictating the terms for us to stay together. You just want to play the victim because I hurt your pride. Maybe this is so. Your cheating definitely hurt me, pride and all. But more than that, I can't accept the fact that the one who should care about me more than anyone else actually doesn't care that much. For God's sake, it was just one time. Just one night. That doesn't mean anything. I was angry with you, great. You left us for something meaningless. This is even worse, and I don't know if it was just one time. You could have had intimate relations with him for months. How dare you? If you can't trust me, then we're screwed, and we can end it here. Actually, that's a good idea. A very good one. That's the first thing you said that makes sense. Why can't you be serious? I said. I got up and went out. What are you doing? Don't you dare leave me. It's still a matter of control for you, isn't it? Well, you don't control me. I'm free to leave this room, and I'm free to leave you. Philosophy, she said, her tone now accusing. Don't you dare leave. I was waiting for a call from Dr. Mitchell after I didn't show up for my next appointment. Mr. Carter, I'm clarifying about our session today. I won't come, I said. Dr. Mitchell responded. I thought so, Mr. Carter. Phil, strictly off the record, there are some aspects of your wife's personality that you should be careful with. Do you mean something else besides betrayal? She has some narcissistic traits. She will never forgive you for what she considers your faults. Nothing you do will be right. Beware of parental alienation. It's worth reading about. The conversation ended abruptly. I started reading, and what I discovered horrified me. The traits described seemed to suit Hannah, especially her sense of self-worth and superiority, the lack of empathy, the need for attention, criticizing others, and not accepting negative feedback. All of it struck me. I realized for the first time that I might lose Sophia completely. Parental alienation describes the psychological manipulation of a child against the other parent. Basically, Sophia could be brainwashed and isolated from me, and that wasn't an option. The long-term effects on the child and some of the case studies are heartbreaking. Legally and financially, I would lose. None of the ideas of separation and revenge looked viable in the cold light of day. I'm not a former soldier, an expert in the field of information technology, and I have no friends in the lower stratum of society. I am an ordinary person who finds himself at the mercy of the court and the system. Is there any way I can avoid losing everything? Then I had an epiphany. Well, not exactly an epiphany, but a vague idea that I could stay with Hannah and raise Sophia together. She's almost 9, so I need another 4 years. I don't need to be in love with Hannah, and in my mind, I don't need to be faithful to her anymore. So maybe it will be an arranged marriage. I'll be much better off financially. I just need to stay friends for a few years, and I'll eliminate the possibility of losing Sophia. After Dr. Mitchell's warning, I was really worried about what might happen if I wasn't around. Hannah begged me to give her one last chance to explain everything, but I refused unless she promised to stop blocking my access to Sophia. After moving in with my mom, she refused to do this and insisted that there would be no problems with access. So I reluctantly went to our old house. Let's just sit down and clarify the situation, I said. The truth is, I always needed something more, and if it weren't for Mark, sooner or later it would have been someone else. Why then did you marry me? It's obvious. I love you, idiot. Thanks to you, I'm happy, safe, and content. I get along with people, have a lot of energy, and love attention. I need you, but I also need something else. And what you want is Mark? Not necessarily. He's not bad in bed, but I can leave him if that's what's bothering you. I know you don't like him. Of course, if you leave in less than 30 minutes, he will be here. He has always been in love with me, Hannah said casually. Wow, now you've shown yourself in all your glory. So ruthless. Maybe you deserve each other, I replied. This doesn't have to be the end of us. Look at me. You won't find anyone better than me, and I will take care of your every need. But do you want to have intimate relations with other guys? No need to be so rude. Talking to Mark reminded me exactly what I was missing. I would like to be more open with you, but I was afraid of losing you. This doesn't have to happen often, and I can be discreet. We were both silent for a long time, the consequences of the divorce making me think. I can come back if we open our relationship. Hannah didn't expect such a comment and looked shocked, but then a smile appeared on her face. Fine, baby. I can be your hot wife if you want to be on it. You can watch, or I can tell you all about it. Maybe it will help you understand. That's not exactly what I meant, I said. I don't want to hear about what you're doing. I would like to swap with other couples. Why on earth would you do that when you have me? Maybe it's my innate sense of justice, but on the other hand, it will give you the extra emotion you seem to crave, I continued, trying to make her understand. She looked down at her body, spreading her thighs slightly in her tight skirt. But baby, I don't want to share you. You don't need anything other than this. I realized that she liked this idea even more than her desire to control me, so I continued with my Hail Mary, last chance plan. This is the only way we can stay together, and there are several other conditions. You will need to be tested for STDs before I touch you again, and any dates will strictly involve the use of protection. No non-consensual games, and to find other like-minded people, we will join the site. And one more thing, leave Mark and never meet him again. You're right, I can't stand him, Hannah replied reluctantly, but she made a fuss, accusing me of trying to cheat. I suppressed my laughter, knowing that she simply didn't understand the irony. I asked her if she had already submitted her resignation letter. This is not a negotiation, Hannah. It's either this, or I'm just leaving. Hannah reluctantly agreed, seeing how adamant I was, but no doubt she thought that sooner or later she would find some way to get around me. She also quit, saying that her father had found her another position and vowed that she would never see Mark again. I wasn't naive enough to believe her completely, but it was a concession from which I expected more resistance. I signed up for several open couple sites and was amazed at the number of responses. The photo of Hannah in an elegant evening dress attracted the attention of all ages more than the photos without clothes and other profiles. We moved on to correspondence with several couples online. The first couple we actually met were Ryan and Christinian. The meeting was normal. They were a little younger than us, very fit and attractive. Michael was very interested in Hannah, but I didn't like Kate, and we left the meeting as an interesting evening, much to Hannah's disappointment. At one point, we exchanged short kisses. Hannah seemed excited when I kissed Kate, although her kiss with Michael was longer and more exciting. After that, I selected couples based on the wife's profile. I wasn't too worried about what Hannah would get, to be fair. Most of them were on par with their partners, but not always. Every month or so, we met up with other couples, not always for intimacy. As a rule, the men were wonderful, and their wives were very attractive. The ages ranged from 20 to 40, with different appearances and personalities. I certainly had a lot of fun dating. Hannah's loyalty no longer mattered to me, and she enjoyed the attention of new men. This continued intermittently for several years. In normal life, Hannah's behavior improved slightly, and her complaints decreased. She knew I would leave if she returned to her old ways, and an uneasy truce would develop between us. I spent more and more time with Sophia, who often fought with her mother as a teenager, while I quietly strengthened the bonds we had. I appreciated it all the more because I was well aware of how easily it could all end. It was definitely cheaper to keep her. If we separated, I doubt I could afford to own my own property. And on top of that, I would have to do all the shopping, cooking, and cleaning. Moreover, I had intimate relationships with many attractive women that I would have never approached as a single guy. I would have preferred fidelity and a monogamous relationship, but this seemed like the best way out of the situation. I didn't love Hannah as much as I used to, but our relationship was quite good. Although I began to miss the deep connection with someone special, Hannah was no longer that person to me. Sophia was already 14, and I just needed to last a few more years. Then I started talking to a couple in their early 30s named Christine and Jason. The conversation was comfortable and friendly, and we ended up exchanging several photos of ourselves and our outfits. The couple was stunning. Christine was elegant and very pretty, with curly red hair, and Jason looked quite fit. Jason was friendly and interesting, while Christine was quite calm, perhaps a little shy. We agreed to meet at a restaurant and see how things were going. Hannah got ready by wearing a tight little black dress that showed off her figure. I was a little surprised by the choice of outfit and assumed it was quite revealing. She insisted that she wanted to look decent and that she needed high-heeled shoes since Jason was very tall. We walked into an upscale bar and saw them in a quiet booth, smiling, greeting each other like old friends and hugging each other. Jason was wearing a suit that matched my jeans and shirt. Seeing Christine in person took my breath away. The computer screen did not convey all her beauty. She was wearing a midnight blue dress that seemed to shimmer in the street lights, not too revealing. In mid-heels, her highlighted red hair was a mass of curls and pins, but looked completely natural. Maybe Hannah is right about the outfit, I thought to myself. There were lots of smiles and confirmation that we were glad to finally meet. We exchanged a few small phrases about how we found this place. We ordered a couple of bottles of wine, and while I tried not to look at Christine too obviously, Jason looked at Hannah more openly. The conversation continued, and everyone admitted that they had hardly thought about anything else all week. I can't believe we got along so well. It's more casual than I thought. It feels like we've been friends for a long time, I remarked. The others agreed with my sentiment. I saw the way Hannah looked at Jason. If anyone didn't like the state of things, it was her. She seemed fascinated by him, and it wasn't long before she went into full flirting mode. Christine bit her lip, a nervous gesture, but it drew my attention to her rather full lips. Between the bar and the restaurant, there was a dance floor with music playing. I asked Christine if she wanted to dance. She looked at Jason, who nodded in agreement. At the same time, he stood up and extended his hand to Hannah. She smiled and took it without even looking in my direction. I remember very well our first touch when Christine took my hand, and I looked into her eyes. My heart jumped slightly, as did my groin. I put my other hand around her waist. "Everything is fine, Christine," I said. She just smiled and nodded in response. As we began to move slowly to the music, I saw that she was nervous, so I continued chatting. "By the way, I like your dress. It's very elegant," I commented. "Thank you," she said. "I hoped you would like it. It took me forever to choose. I was aiming for intimate, not promiscuity and all that." "Well, I would say that you did it. You look elegant and stylish," I replied. Christine surprised me by explaining that this was the first time they had met like this. Their interest was sparked by meeting old college friends, drinking a lot, which led to some flirting, but they hadn't gone through with it. Jason wanted to explore and experiment, so he convinced Christine to give it a try. I felt there was more to it, but I didn't want to pry too much too soon. "Would you mind if I held you close to me, Christine?" I asked. "No, and you can call me Christine. Everyone else does," she replied. "Okay, why don't you put your hands on my shoulders?" When she did this, I ran my hands along her petite waist. "What do you think?" I asked. "It's nice," she said. "I like being around you." I bit my lip, trying to relax. "Just try to relax, Christine. I'm not going to do anything that will make you uncomfortable. Tell me if I do, and we'll work it out." "Thank you, Michael. It means a lot. I want to trust you, and this is a great way to start something I hope is special," she said. I hugged her and forgot about Hannah and Jason for a while, lost in the moment. I wanted to kiss her, but I resisted the urge. It felt too early, and I hoped it would be something to look forward to. We looked at each other and saw Hannah and Jason kissing. His arms were a little lower. I was amazed at how little I cared. I never felt the same after Hannah's cheating. Christine looked up at me. "How do you feel seeing them kiss?" she asked. I expected to feel jealous, but no. "I think it's because you're in my arms," I replied. Christine smiled back. "You're too cute." This is probably what worried me the most all week. I never doubted that I liked you, but I thought that jealousy could become insurmountable. But it didn't. It's like a regular date, which is what I like, but with an extra twist of excitement. "For me, it's the same," I said. "I don't mind because we're together." I pulled her a little closer to me, enjoying the closeness of her body, and let my hands slide to the back of her thighs, trying to avoid grabbing her. I could feel her chest meet my heart as we continued to almost dance. Jason and Hannah slid towards us. "Are you guys okay?" Jason asked. "Yes, everything is fine. You guys are a great couple," I replied. I felt proud when Jason said that. For some reason, I really liked that we were called a couple. Christine turned to me. "I can't agree more." "I think so too," she said. We sat back in the booth while Jason and Hannah continued dancing. I leaned over to chat with Christine over the music. Our faces naturally drew close. She leaned over and kissed me tenderly on the lips. Her lips were so soft, and her perfume was intoxicating. The feeling was electric. "Wow, this is so unusual," I said. "Thank you. I'm serious. There's no rush. We can move at the pace that suits you. We don't have to follow them." "I know. We'll just do our own thing," I replied. We looked at each other and saw Hannah looking at us, with Jason saying, "Wow." Christine looked at him and blushed, pressing her face to my chest. I heard muffled sounds. "Looks like they saw everything," I said. "Probably yes. We were a little late," Christine replied. "Do you feel awkward because of this?" "No, and you?" I asked. "Not one bit. And I don't want to let you go," she said. Jason and Hannah joined us, and we continued talking about friends, family, travel, and work. Time flew by, confirming that we had a lot in common and a connection. Jason interrupted. "Hey, would you guys like to have a nightcap with us, or can we do it another time if it seems too hasty?" Hannah looked excited, and I looked at Christine, who nodded, biting her lip again, and said, "How about we come back and see how it goes? No promises." "Sounds quite fair. Any of us can stop at any time," Hannah added with a laugh. "Why don't we swap partners for the duration of the trip so that no one gets lost?" Jason suggested. "Sure, sounds like a good plan," I said. I offered Christine my hand, and she took it, letting me lead her out of the bar. My stomach was shaking with excitement and some anxiety. Hannah and Jason followed me, holding hands. I noticed that the waitress was looking at us with raised eyebrows and a smile. I opened the car door for Christine, feeling strange but excited as I took the opportunity to inspect her. Her dress rode up on her hips, and I noticed her very slender legs covered in nylon. I looked back and saw Jason's hand on Hannah's thigh as he walked her into the car. I got into the car and, unable to resist, leaned over to kiss Christine, wondering what I would get, her cheek or her lips. She turned and kissed me tenderly on the lips. We started the engine and drove off, seeing that Jason had followed us. "Are you happy with this evening, Christine?" I asked. "Yes, everything was wonderful. More comfortable than I expected, but that doesn't mean I'm still not scared," she replied. "I would say that you shouldn't be afraid, but I'm afraid myself. You're very attractive, and I like your company. Just remember that everything is under control," I reassured her. She giggled and reached out to squeeze my hand. "I like it. Thank you. You make everything simpler." I had so many doubts. "I think Jason and Hannah hit it off too," I commented. After a short drive, we arrived and walked into their home, shared some wine at the breakfast bar, and then settled into the living room. I was glad that Christine decided to sit next to me. We talked for a bit, and I kept glancing at Christine. She really had an amazing figure. When I looked back, Jason's hand was on Hannah's thigh, and he moved in for a kiss. I decided to do the same with Christine and started kissing her. It didn't take long before Jason led Hannah out. "Meet me for breakfast at 9 in the morning," I suggested. Christine was more than happy with the prospect of spending the night with me. She also nodded in agreement. I began to kiss her more and more often, unable to stop. Then she began to have serious jitters. "You are, of course, a good guy, but I'm not sure I can do this," she confessed. "It's okay, Christine. You should be absolutely comfortable with what we're doing, and you should be sure that this is exactly what you want," I replied. Then we heard the unmistakable sound of the bed creaking upstairs, and we knew what it meant. With these words, Christine took a deep breath, stood up, offered her hand, and led me upstairs. As we walked past one of the bedrooms, I heard my wife, Hannah, make sounds. Christine led me into the master bedroom. She deftly unzipped the back of her dress and let it fall. I was mesmerized: black high heels, a blue transparent bra, and a thong. She looked like a vision. Her skin was so tight and perfectly porcelain. I remembered to close my mouth so that my staring wouldn't be so noticeable. "So, you like what you see?" she teased. "I more than like it. You are stunning," I replied. "Well, it looks like I got your attention. Now it's your turn," she said. I tried to be cool and courageous, but I felt rushed and awkward. It took me no more than a few seconds to undress. Christine looked me up and down, and I felt myself blush. "That's very nice. Looks like I'll get a better deal," she joked. I was delighted by this remark and went up to her to kiss her. The shy housewife had turned into a hot goddess, and I wanted more and more. Breakfast turned into casual conversation. After the ice was broken, we exchanged opinions without going into too much detail. It looked like Jason and Hannah were having a good time too. We agreed to meet again in 7 months. I continued to meet with Jason and Christine, and I thoroughly enjoyed each meeting. Hannah started asking if I had feelings for Christine. I denied it, saying it was just a coincidence. In the end, Jason said they wouldn't date us anymore because he thought Christine and I were too close. I didn't argue, admitting to myself that I had fallen in love and that if possible, I would switch places with Hannah in a heartbeat. But unfortunately, that's where it all ended. Months passed since our last meeting when Hannah, out of the blue, said that Jason and Christine had invited us to a party. Apparently, it was a party thrown by a couple they met online. They weren't sure about it and wanted to have friends there in case it got too crowded. Yes, we didn't like parties, but we agreed that we would only change with other couples. No orgies, groups, or singles. But I wanted to see Christine again, so I agreed to go. I explained to Hannah that I was very interested in the idea, adding that she was interested in what such parties entailed and that they could open up new opportunities. I was pleasantly surprised when we entered the hangout, which was a large and secluded private home. The party was a casual affair with drinks and a meet and greet. The owners introduced us to some of the regulars, and they all seemed nice people, but there was no sign of Jason or Christine. Hannah started hanging out with a guy named Alex. He was young and handsome, and she seemed to like him. They went into the bar, and I chatted with the owners, meeting another couple. About 20 or 30 minutes had passed when Hannah returned and said she was going upstairs to get to know Alex better. "Wait a second. This is not part of our agreement," I reminded her. "Remember, he is single, and we only exchange with couples." "But it's a party," she replied casually. "Hell no, we still stick to our boundaries," I insisted. I could see she was annoyed and wondered if she couldn't just go anyway. But then I saw her shake her head slightly at her future lover across the room. By the time Jason and Christine arrived, she had calmed down a little. I noticed that Christine was wearing a dress that was very revealing for her, short and low-cut. She looked impressive, but of course, she did not feel comfortable. Jason was as gregarious as ever, but Christine looked depressed and awkward. I decided that this was not going to be a party I would enjoy. It wasn't long before Jason led Hannah towards the bar again, leaving Christine and me. We chatted, but she seemed preoccupied, and the conversation was strained, lacking the warmth of our previous meetings. Would you like to go away? Just go for a ride without any obligations? Maybe get some fresh air? I suggested. She looked so relieved and then burst into tears. I tried to calm her down, asking what happened. Jason wants me to try a special kind of intimacy, you know, with a few guys. I don't want this, but Jason is very insistent on it. He insists that we come to the party. I only agreed when Jason said you would be here. I knew that you wouldn't want me to do anything that made me uncomfortable. Wait, this doesn't make sense. Why would Jason invite me knowing that I would refuse? I realized, puzzled. It dawned on us both at the same time. Christine spoke first. Maybe he had something planned for Hannah. We went looking for them, but they weren't at the bar. I turned to Christine, shaking my head, looking at my watch. I realized that at least 45 minutes had passed since they left together. I quickly ran upstairs and was already moving down the corridor when Hannah came staggering out of the bedroom door, trying to straighten her dress. We almost collided. The door was open, and I saw Jason and Alex inside. At least she had the decency to look embarrassed. I stared at Hannah in rage. Is this my fault too? I demanded. This is my body, and I'll do whatever I want with it, she retorted, trying to hold her head high. Don't be shy, but I'm leaving. I turned on my heels, passed Christine on the stairs, and headed towards the exit. I heard the click of heels behind me as I walked down the stairs and across the tiled hallway. I turned to tell Hannah exactly where she could go, but I saw Christine looking back at me. She was in a panic, her eyes wide. Can I go with you? She asked. I looked up at the landing and saw a third man leading into Hannah's bedroom with two others. I nodded to Christine and turned to leave. The trip was calm. We talked a little about what we were going to do and came to the conclusion that both Jason and Hannah were narcissistic. In my case, I thought that Hannah would always try to win and would not accept any balance in our relationship. Christine's assessment was more blunt. Jason is just a jerk, she said. This made me laugh. Exactly the level of personal analysis that I could understand and for which I did not need a consultant. Can I take you home? I asked. I'm not very fond of company. Only if everything is fine with you alone, and if you take me to my mother. I don't want to see Jason anytime soon, Christine requested. I left her, promising to stay in touch, and returned to the house alone, acutely aware of the silence and darkness. Hannah returned home the next day, and I didn't know if she would try to argue or apologize. I didn't care. Don't even worry, Hannah. It's all over between us, I declared. Why? It's just one night. Be calm. We've done it with dozens of people. What's the difference? She said, her voice unnervingly nonchalant. I've had enough, Hannah. 3 guys all night long. You seem to be saying that you can always get more. By the way, you were right about this. You were attractive. Many men want you. You won. Congratulations, I replied, seemingly unable to contain my disgust. She seemed almost unable to hide a smile. Sorry I was upset because you ruined my fun with Alex, she added. Nonsense, Hannah. You and Jason arranged everything. Used Christine to distract me while you both got what you wanted. It's always the same with you. You're like a spoiled child, and it's never enough. You need to go to the clinic and get checked. I won't touch you again, I responded firmly. Hannah didn't take my leaving very well. She started stalking me and didn't allow me to see Sophia. At one point, she tried to force her way into my mother's house, where I was staying, ranting about how I was treating her badly. I tried to kick her out without using force. Fortunately, my mother showed no restraint. She slapped Hannah and literally threw her out, adding, You need help, Hannah. I'm not sure you're healthy. This remark provoked another barrage of insults from Hannah. I gave her money for Sophia, but she referred me to the child support agency. I couldn't help but laugh when they told me I had to pay her less, and she got so angry that she threatened the manager and got a police warning. I went to pick up Sophia, but Hannah said she was with her friends. I was stunned to see Brian Keller emerge from the living room, calm as a cucumber. What the heck? I exclaimed. Like I said, if you leave me, Mark will be here. And here he is. Soon he will take me upstairs again, Hannah stated matter-of-factly. I turned to Mark, who had a smug look on his face. I was definitely going to beat the crap out of him, but then I remembered Dr. Mitchell's warning from years ago. Maybe it was a setup, a trap. Hannah hated losing at anything, and if I got arrested for assault, Hannah would keep Sophia like everything else. Surely she wouldn't go that far, would she? Hannah continued, I'm sure Mark will be a wonderful father for Sophia. He will be only too happy to adopt her. Finally, I noticed that her phone, partially hidden on the shelf, was undoubtedly recording. I laughed almost hysterically. Nice try, Hannah, but I won't touch a single hair on his rich little head. You are something special, and you both truly deserve each other. I paused, then added, by the way, does Mark know that you had intimate relations with several guys at the same time, and without protection? Mark almost choked as I left. I casually added, better sign up for an intimate health clinic, mate. You don't want anything bothering you. While Hannah was having a night with Mark, I received a number of offensive messages and videos from her. Her comments were very instructive. Look what you threw away that you could have enjoyed now. Never mind, I have a real man, and he is much better and bigger than you. I thought it was strange that she would waste time texting when she was doing so well. I didn't care anymore, as long as Sophia was safe. If you give me Sophia, you will have more time to have fun with anyone. Although I heard that Mark moved out, so you have some space to fill, so to speak. At this point, she hung up, no doubt amazed that 2 men had already rejected her. The divorce was a nightmare. It dragged on longer and longer. She kept resisting and making up all sorts of nonsense about me having affairs and being abusive. She had no evidence, and some of her claims were so outlandish that the family court social workers and lawyers began to realize what she was all about. Anyone who disagreed with her received a barrage of insults. I realized that the Hannah I lived with was just a simplified version of her. Even Hannah's parents began to worry about their princess's erratic behavior, but it was also my fault because I was the one who abandoned her. Now, at 16 years old, Sophia had no choice. But the family court listened to her wishes, and she wanted to stay with me. I continued to handle most of my parenting responsibilities without missing a single event, class, or parent-teacher meeting, and turned into a teen taxi service. Hannah perceived this choice as a betrayal. After all, how could I not choose her? At the custody hearing, she lost her temper when my lawyer asked for a psychological evaluation of Hannah to ensure Sophia's safety. I thought Hannah was going to explode. She started cursing right in the middle of the trial and completely lost her temper. She thought I was stupid, just like my lawyer. Honestly, she might have been right, but he was on my side. She was again found in contempt of court when she continued to cause problems with my access to Sophia. I kept a journal and had her message chain as proof. The judge warned her that one more such incident, and she would be taken into custody. At the last hearing, she lost her temper again when the judge confirmed joint custody and called him a lost old fool, for which she was prosecuted and fined. Over time, I spent more and more time with Sophia. Hannah seemed to have lost interest in parenting, and Sophia's bad behavior worsened. Although I didn't observe any of that, all I had to do was pay off another 16 months of the mortgage, and then we could sell the house, or Hannah would have to buy out my share. Another thing I did was save small amounts of money over the years, and that helped a lot. The day after receiving confirmation of the divorce, my doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw a red-haired vision. Hello. I guess you're not interested in dating a recently divorced and reformed girl who wants only one thing: to settle down with the right and truly monogamous man, she said. I smiled. I think we have someone who fits that description. If you'd like to come in. The truth was that I had stayed in touch with Christine, and we supported each other through our divorces. Jason seemed to be on the same path as Hannah, and like Hannah, he periodically asked for forgiveness and then returned to his previous behavior. I didn't see much of Hannah after that, only making a brief appearance at Sophia's 17th birthday. I thought that after such a long separation, we could have a reasonable conversation. I would consider coming back to you, Michael, if you begged. You know that I am the best thing you ever had, and don't even try to say that you don't miss me. I laughed. You're right, Hannah. It would be completely pointless to tell you otherwise. The next time I saw her was at the station when we saw Sophia off to university. I was there with Christine as the train pulled out. I heard Hannah say to her, I could take him away from you if I really wanted to, but I like all the other men too much, and his pride can't handle it. Christine smiled sweetly. Oh, darling, you really are very bitter and completely out of touch with reality, aren't you? Hannah turned away in frustration, and Christine took my hand as we walked away from the scene. For all the holidays, Sophia returned to me, and Christine, thanks in part to doting on my stepbrother, we actually lived happily ever after. What do you think of stories like this? Personally, this kind of story works for me. Not too confusing and enjoyable to listen to, but the plot twists are ratcheted up. And that's the story. What would you have done in Michael's shoes? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.